Hey there, my beautifully stubborn anti-Trump late-night insomniacs. It's December 8th, and tonight's episode of America is a Reality Show we didn't agree to join has a very special guest star, Marjorie Taylor Greene, as the voice of reason. I know. That's like announcing Florida Man as your designated driver. But stay with me, because when even Marjorie is saying Trump is dangerous and this movement is out of control, you know the circus tent is officially on fire. So here's the plot twist. Marjorie Taylor Greene, one of the original high-volume, all-caps cheerleaders of MAGA, has now basically stuck a knife in Donald Trump on national television. She's telling the world that MAGA Republicans secretly mock Trump behind his back. They laugh at how he talks. They laugh at his deteriorating health. They laugh at his appearance. According to her, in private, he's one big joke to the Republican Party. They think he's disgusting and grotesque, but they still put on the red hat when it's time to beg the base for money and votes. So if you're watching this and you're a hardcore MAGA fan, congratulations. Even your own heroes are laughing at you between fundraisers. Out front, they're like, he's a genius, a warrior, the chosen one. Backstage, it's, can someone get Grandpa off the microphone before he starts talking about windmills causing cancer again? But it gets darker. Marjorie says she's been getting death threats, not just at her, but at her kid, and she traces them directly back to Trump's behavior. She says when Trump started calling her Marjorie Three Trader Greene, you know? Classic middle school nickname energy from a 70-something-year-old ex-president. The MAGA cells activated. The trolls, the extremists, the patriot cosplay crowd. And suddenly her son is getting assassination threats. There are pipe bomb threats at her home and her business, the whole thing. She sends the threats to Trump, expecting at least 1 ounce of sympathy. And she says he responded with harsh, accusatory replies and zero sympathy. I mean, imagine realizing 5 years into a cult that the cult leader doesn't actually care about you. She literally says she was shocked at how she was treated by the top Republican leadership, considering everything I did to help elect their boss, and that she had a 98% voting record with Trump. She paid her dues, she carried the water, she screamed stolen election into every camera she could find, and in the end, she found out she's as disposable as any other MAGA foot soldier once she stops being useful. And what was the great heresy that turned Trump against her? Here's where it moves from pathetic to truly disturbing. Marjorie says she stood with the survivors of Jeffrey Epstein's child sex trafficking ring, women who were raped when they were 14. She emphasizes and pushed to release the Epstein files. That's when Trump turned on her. She says Trump told her that if the files came out, a lot of powerful men are going to become victims and that she would be hurting people if she pushed for transparency. In his mind, the powerful men in Epstein's orbit are the victims, not the children who were abused, the powerful men. She literally calls it a pedo protection program, and she says she couldn't be part of aiding and abetting Trump's cover-up of a child sex trafficking ring. Again, this is Marjorie Taylor Greene talking. The same person who used to call everyone a pedophile on Twitter if they disagreed with her about gas stoves. When the queen of wild conspiracies is now saying, no, for real, Trump is covering for powerful predators, maybe, just maybe, we should listen, she describes how she reached out to J.D. Vance, to Kash Patel, to Trump's chief of staff, to his deputies. Some of them responded with polite words and absolutely zero action. Others didn't respond at all. Trump responded by basically chewing her out. Her takeaway: the threats, the danger to her kid, the national security implications of the Epstein files, none of that mattered. What mattered was that she was stepping on the toes of the powerful men Trump considers his circle. This is the guy who ran on draining the swamp. Turns out he just moved into the swamp, built a golf course on top of it, and started selling lifetime memberships to predators. Then Marjorie goes on 60 Minutes with Leslie Stahl, the same show where Trump once brought out a big binder full of blank pages and called it his health care plan, and then stormed off when Leslie pointed out that the binder was, empty. She tells Leslie on camera that the death threats and harassment she's getting now are coming from the right because once she stood with Epstein's victims, Trump called me a traitor and the MAGA mob turned on her like it's feeding time. She describes pizza doxing deliveries, bomb threats, explicit threats against her son, all pointing to pro-Trump extremists. And to be clear, this is someone who bragged for years about being on Trump's side. She was one of the loudest amplifiers of his rhetoric. And now she says point blank, this movement has become a machine of political violence that can't be controlled. And yet, somehow, she still calls herself America First and tries to separate that from MAGA. She says, MAGA is Trump's phrase. That's not America First. I'm America First. Trump, she says, is betraying America First by helping billionaire donors, helping crypto bros, meeting with Saudi Crown Prince MBS, the guy who murdered an American journalist, and schmoozing Zoran Mamdani after calling him the worst thing imaginable. In other words, she's finally noticing what the rest of us have been yelling for years, that Trump's idea of America First is really oligarchs first, you last, the billionaires, the crypto lobby, the foreign authoritarians, the TV executives, they get the benefits. You get higher bills, more fear, and a steady diet of culture war outrage. So you're too busy screaming at drag queens to notice your health insurance deductible is $15,000. Speaking of health care, some of the most brutal parts of her comments aren't even about Epstein. They're about how broken the system is and how utterly uninterested Republicans are in fixing it. She talks about a family of four facing a $15,000 deductible and $20,000 out-of-pocket maximum, calls it a catastrophe, and flat out says, fix health insurance. She points out that nobody is walking around blaming Venezuela for their problems. No one is saying, damn, if only we had bombed more fishing boats off their coast, my copay would be lower. Yet the Trump regime would rather provoke wars with Venezuela than do the hard, boring work of making health care affordable. And she's not alone in exposing the scam. Kevin McCarthy, remember him? The ex-speaker Trump helped throw under the bus now calls Marjorie a canary in the coal mine, warning that a wave of Republican resignations is coming. Puck News is reporting up to 20 House Republicans are preparing to retire. They see the writing on the wall. The Trump House majority is hanging by dental floss, the base is exhausted, and moderate voters are done with the chaos. Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries sums it up perfectly. He says Republicans promise to lower the cost of living, but under Trump, the costs are going up across the board. Housing, childcare, groceries, electricity. Meanwhile, they're refusing to extend Affordable Care Act tax credits, which will make health care more expensive for tens of millions of people. At the same time, they're unleashing extremism on the country, losing election after election, from New Jersey to Georgia to California, and now trying to sprint out of town before sundown. Even some of the rank-and-file Republicans are done pretending. Congressman Glenn Grothman basically admits on camera that if a vote on extending ACA subsidies actually came to the floor, it would probably pass all Democrats, plus 3 or 4 Republicans would be enough. But he says Speaker MAGA Mike Johnson is too cowardly to bring it up. Behind closed doors, they know people need help paying for health care. In public, they'd rather let your premiums explode than risk making Trump mad by giving Obamacare a lifeline. And then we have MAGA Mike himself standing there with his best churchy smile saying this has been one of the most productive Congresses in history. This is the same guy who promised during the shutdown that Republicans would quickly roll out a health care plan, just like Trump's 2 weeks plan from his first term. It never appears. It's always coming soon. It's always almost ready. It's always a binder full of blank pages. The only real product they've delivered is gaslighting. That's what Marjorie, in her own messy, self-serving way, is finally admitting. This isn't a movement that cares about the forgotten American. It's a political industrial complex that feeds on chaos, fear, and violence. She says Republicans need to look in the mirror and ask, are you still a mindless pawn taking orders, or are you an elected representative serving your district? She warns that a Congress that just takes orders from the White House and governs by executive order is not serving voters and can't keep fooling them forever. The tragic irony, of course, is that she helped build this machine. She poured gasoline on it. She rode it into power. Now that it's turning on her and her family, she's running away from the flames, waving her arms, yelling, "This thing is out of control." Welcome to how the rest of the country has felt since 2016. So where does that leave us tonight? We've got a former Trump superfan accusing him of protecting powerful predators and running a pedo protection program. Death threats and bomb threats coming from the very movement she once fueled, MAGA Republicans mocking Trump in private while pretending to worship him in public. A speaker lying about a productive Congress while blocking votes that would actually help people. A healthcare crisis they refuse to fix because it's more profitable politically and literally to keep you desperate and angry. If this is America first, I'd hate to see what America last looks like. I'm Jimmy Kimmel, at least on your screen tonight, and my message on December 8th is simple. You are not crazy for feeling like this is unsustainable. You are not crazy for thinking that a government that treats child sex trafficking files as a threat to powerful men instead of a roadmap to justice is broken. You're not crazy for thinking that a movement that casually shrugs off bomb threats and assassination threats is not patriotic. It's sick. What you can do is refuse to be the pawn they think you are. Listen, when even their own canary in the coal mine starts screaming, look at what they do, not what they shout at rallies. Remember that behind the red hat and the slogans, they are laughing at Trump, laughing at the base, and cashing the checks. And because this is YouTube, we end with the sacred ritual. If you want Trump's little cult of chaos to stay confined to late-night monologues and documentaries instead of your real life, hit like, drop a comment, and subscribe. Think of that subscribe button as a tiny, safe, legal way of saying, I'm done being a prop in your show. I'm ready to write a different ending.